Joining us now to react to all of this is author and attorney Don Brown. So, Don, I wanted to play that clip, even though I know all eyes are on New York with these two cases that we're going to get to in just a minute. But I think it's important to bring this up because one of the things that Trump brought up today, speaking outside of this courtroom, is calling this election interference. And that goes right back to this case involving Kari Lake. Your reaction to what her attorney had to say?
Well, Kurt Olson is one of the best attorneys in the country, the best election attorney. I've worked with him before, and he's really hitting on the head with Maricopa County's failure to properly certify, with the ability to take control of these machines remotely. I was reading part of Justice Thomas's decision in the 2021 case that our courts owe our citizens an explanation of what's going on here. It's going to be interesting to see what the Supreme Court does with it. I wasn't totally pleased with the way they handled the Pennsylvania versus Texas or Texas versus Pennsylvania in 2021. We'll see what happens now. But Kurt's case is ironclad. It's iron solid. There's no way you can have any confidence in what's going on in Arizona. A state like Arizona, a county like Maricopa, the election ends and then it stretches and stretches and stretches and stretches. And whenever these things stretch, it undermines confidence in the system. So I wish them all the best. He's got an ironclad case. We'll see how the appellate courts and especially SCOTUS is going to react to it.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you, though, so are you a betting man? What are the odds that the Supreme Court actually hears this case?
I don't have a lot of confidence in SCOTUS on these election fraud cases. Until they give me a reason to show me confidence, I don't have a lot of confidence. They should take it up. It's going to take 4 justices. They should take it up. They should hear it. And they should order a new election in Arizona, especially in Maricopa County. That's the only way to remedy this problem. But I'm not optimistic based upon their track record in this particular area, Miranda. I wish that I were.
So, Donna, we'll keep an eye on that. But going back to, I know there are a lot of cases, so for our viewers right now, it's hard to keep track of everything that's going on. But President Trump was in New York today for a criminal case. This is involving, his former attorney, Michael Cohen, and Stormy Daniels, of course, that adult film star. Again, alleged hush money case going back to 2016. But while he was there, the civil case, which we've talked about in great detail, the appellate judge actually ruling that the amount that Trump had to post for bond was way too high. The deadline was looming at midnight tonight. Working in his favor, it was $454 million that he was having to come up with. That now reduced to $175 million. Your reaction to that ruling?
Well, I'm grateful. I'm happy to hear that the ridiculous amount was reduced. Actually, $175 million is way too much anyway, because a bond is supposed to be designed to protect the person against whom the appeal is issued from lost profits or from damages during the period of time. You and I have a store. Right. And somebody tries to shut us down and we win and they appeal. Well, the bond is supposed to be set on what we would lose during the period of appeal. So if our store makes $1,000 a day, that's going to take 90 days. You estimate the bond at $90,000. This original bond was estimated at close to the entire judgment. There's no rationality to it. I think there's an 8th Amendment violation here. This is an excessive civil fine, and the Supreme Court has held the 8th Amendment, although primarily designed to protect in criminal cases, also applies to civil cases as well, where there is excessive fines involved. Alexander v. U.S., Austin v. U.S., both 1993 cases state that's the case. There's no rationality to any of the damages in this case because the state of New York hasn't been damaged. And this judge, this Ingeron guy, is nothing, as I've said before, but a communist wearing a black robe. He's one of the dumbest clowns I've ever seen on the bench, and he needs to be removed from the bench. And so does Letitia James. She needs to be removed from her job.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, she was running. That was a campaign promise that she was going to go after Trump. She said this not once, but multiple times. And that's exactly what she's trying to do. But again, as you mentioned, $175 million still significant. That obviously is not pocket change. But the president saying, they're doing this. This is a form of election interference. Why doesn't where does the Amendment 8 come in with all of this?
Well, the 8th Amendment protects, first of all, against excessive bond, but it also protects against excessive civil fines. That's the second clause, and then against cruel and unusual punishment. It's thought of primarily as a criminal amendment, but the United States Supreme Court has determined, and correctly so, that it also applies to irrational civil fines. Mm-hmm. And that's what we have here. First of all, we have an irrational judgment where there are no damages. But the bond itself, and then requiring 450 and even 175 million, to me, is an excessive civil fine because there's no rationality to it, Miranda. It's not like you can point to anything showing that the people of New York are going to lose this money during the period of the appeal. There's no losses to begin with. Right. And I think that's why there's a good chance the entire thing could be reversed based upon zero losses at all.
Right. And like you've said before, and others have said, there are no victims in this case. And basically, President Trump did what many people do all the time. They just don't get charged with it. I also want to shift gears. As I mentioned, the president was speaking there today, but again, involving a different case. So going back to this alleged hush money case from 2016 with this former attorney and again, Stormy Daniels, Trump is hoping to get the whole case thrown out today. That didn't happen. They did delay it. It was supposed to start today, but now it's starting April 15th. Again, the goal, Trump is saying, of a lot of these leftists is to get these cases to happen before the election, to damage him, to go after him, to drain his wallet, his money that he would use for his campaign. Your reaction to the judge's ruling today saying that, basically it's going to continue and move forward as of April 15th?
It's ridiculous that this so-called Stormy Daniels hush money cases have been thrown out. I've counted 1,000 civil lawsuits. It is the rule rather than the exception that whenever a civil lawsuit is settled, whether it's a frivolous suit or not, there normally is a confidentiality clause put into virtually every settlement done in every civil lawsuit in the country. So what you have is a confidentiality clause against what is apparently a bogus accusation to begin with, and it gets spun by the left as it is quote unquote hush money, which of course has criminal implications. And part of the problem is that we allow ourselves to even, adapt to their nomenclature. It's the most ridiculous thing I've seen. She entered into a contract, with the president's attorneys to settle the case. The case is settled, and now all of a sudden, it's all politically timed to try to bring it in the middle of this election. The president's correct. They're trying to drain him of money so he won't have it to spend on elections. But when you look at these calculated kangaroo court cases brought for political purposes, you have to look at the timing of the election. In all these cases, whether it's the Carroll case or this case or other cases, they're all brought at a time when the president's declared that he's running for election again. If President Trump had not entered this race, we wouldn't be having this conversation, Miranda. None of these suits have been filed. None of these prosecutions brought. And that's the bottom line here.
Well, they may not be big wins, but they're definitely wins and helping Trump in his favor right now, these decisions coming out today. So we'll continue to pray and hope that these cases get dismissed. Thank you so much, Don.
You bet. My pleasure, Miranda.